I hope everyone hears me. My apologies for the late start. Unfortunately, there was something urgent which came up. Eli asked me to give a Sicha, and essentially said to me, every Monday we have a Sicha with Rosh Yeshiva. There's no reason to stop and to change now. So I will try to have this in the format of the Monday Sichot, only since no one can ask the questions, I'll do the questions and also the answers. And maybe in a future date we'll do it through Zoom, and then you can also ask the questions, and I'll be forced to give more difficult answers. I'd like to begin discussing the concept of a Sicha. What is a Sicha? A quick check in Tanakh, what does Sicha mean, tells us the following. Sicha is a conversation, of course, but Sicha has other meanings as well. But let's start with a conversation. But the pasuk says about Yov, Adabra v'yirvachli. I'll talk and I'll feel much better. Just talk itself in a time of crisis, such as Yov was undergoing, heals. The fact that a person can unburden himself to his friend, to his companion, is very therapeutic. And certainly I feel so regarding Talmidim. We've spent the whole year together. It's been a year in which we've engaged with each other, and we've learned together, and we've gone through the Yamim Noraim together, and we've experienced many other occasions together, culminating in Purim recently. And now that we're in such circumstances, and there's a need just to talk, to feel human contact, and even though I at the moment can't see the faces, I think there's a bonding of minds, and of hearts and of souls, which we share by our year together during this past year in the Yeshiva, that just again, therefore, one of the main purposes of my particular Sicha is simply to feel the togetherness, to feel that we're still in touch. Rabbi Levi spoke about my heart is out in the east, and I'm stuck in the west, in Spain, which was the end of the world at his time. So, Baruch Hashem, I'm in the Mizrach, but Libi is to the Ma'arav in the sense of wanting to stay in touch with Talmidim, who at the moment are in the Ma'arav. And so I think there's one purpose of a Sicha. Sicha simply is to bond, to get together, and to talk. So in that regard, the purpose of the Sicha simply, you should see me and feel me, and I'll be able to see you, or to feel you at least, if not to see. And if I purposely decided to have the Sicha from my study here and not to go and stand in the Beit Midrash in the more ceremonial and dramatic setting, because the point here really is to talk, as we try to do on those Monday afternoons, and to do it now on a Thursday afternoon. The second meaning of Sicha is Tefillah, of course. The main usage of the word Sicha in Tanakh is to converse with Kadosh Baruch Hu. Eshpoch lefanav sichi, tzarati lefanav agid. I'll pour out my heart through the medium of Sicha, and then I'll also tell him all of my tzarot, tzarati lefanav agid. And we know, of course, Vaytzei Yitzchak l'suach basadeh. Yitzchak went out to l'suach, to have a Sicha in the field. Chazal darshan, it's just mincha. It's not arbitrary drasha that they needed to somehow prove. Like the Avraham, says, Avraham odenu omed lifnei Hashem. Avraham presents himself in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. By Yaakov, it says, Vayivga b'makom, and Chazal darshan makom is makom she'olam. Yitzchak, it seems to be an arbitrary drasha. Why in the world should an afternoon spazier walking outside be darshan as tefillat mincha? The answer, of course, is that lasuach in Tanakh usually means to speak to God. The word Sicha, if you look in Korkedan, says more often than not talking to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore Sicha implies by Yitzchak as well is talking to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And I'd like to discuss tefillah in these times. Tefillah is, of course, an important and long topic we discussed in the past on various occasions, and much more can and should be said. However, I'd like to focus now specifically on Tefillah, Beit Hazot. I wrote a letter, some reflections upon the current situation, which hopefully we send out tomorrow morning in English as well as in Hebrew. And someone else saying he's written over there, but I'd like to add a few other perspectives which will not be written over there as well. Tefillah exists in two levels. We have the normal routine tefillah. We have tefillah be'etz hara. Discuss that shortly. But we also have tefillah b'tzibur. You go to shul, you daven. We have tefillah siyachid. Normally, we insist upon, for spiritual more than halachic reasons, we insist upon tefillah b'tzibur. We believe that coming together daily, going to shul, is what allows us to approach the Chodesh Baruch Hu the best way. We approach as a group, we approach as Am Yisrael. It's not the individual with all his shortcomings and failings and his lack of attention span. Approach the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's tzibur, it's the group, and Chazal tell us Kadosh Baruch Hu is much responsive to Tefillah Am Yisrael, etc. Nevertheless, circumstances have forced us now to daven b'yechidus, and paradoxically, I see that. I know that I see a silver lining, in this cloud, in that. I think it's quite an important experience, after these times, to be able to daven b'yechidus, to have the justification, if you want, because I think it's coming from a deep, spiritual place, or allows us to maybe arrive at a deep spiritual place. Let me explain myself a bit. Our normal religious life is dictated by routine. All kinds of routines and ceremonies which we cherish and are crucial to our religious life. We blow shofar a certain way. We have the seder. Every family has a seder. You get married and you leave the house and you go to your in-laws for your first seder. You are shocked. It's a very unsettling experience. Not because they don't have matzah, because they don't have wine for abakosos, because all of the small family rituals that make your seder into what it was for 25 years or whatever, all of a sudden disappear because they have their family rituals. We are creatures of habit and ritual, and a good deal of what enables us to pour our emotions are the fact that there are set rituals and routines. And it's very important for spiritual life to have them. And certainly, routine tefillah, if done daily, should be done with the tzibur, in which the setup and the framework is much more conducive both to focusing and concentrating, and to the whole, if you want, the whole posture of tefillah, meaning to be lifnei Hashem, is much better in the shul, in a group with a minyan, etc. However, times like this, it's not only a medical imperative and the public health pikuach nefesh to daven b'yechidus. It's I think also it forces us to dig into our souls. When we go to shul, at the end of the day, there's a chazan. There's someone who leads davening. Even Yom Noraim, part of we feel is that the chazan is the locomotive before all of us. The chazan is the one who, through his deep emotions and his spirituality and his ability to translate spirituality not into a certain form of music and nigun, he's able to elevate our tefillah. If I think for a moment about Yeshiva specifically, Rav Bixmin Ameitzar, or Rav Amital Sayom Tam Tzeno, and many other nigunim, not only part of the nostalgia. it's really, we really feel these leverage us into higher spiritual and the higher spirituality that they're able to express through the combination of emotion and not musical, but the ability to express themselves. They're able to elevate our tefillah, and often non-yomim noraim on a routine Monday or Thursday or an afternoon mincha. We often don't really pay attention, and Baruch Hashem, the Chazan is there to say yes for all of us. While I think times like this, we are forced to dig into our souls. You're all alone. Either your tefillah will be a straight tefillah, a distraction, will be intense. And we all want to daven intensely because of the circumstances. We all feel to some degree or another threatened. We all feel unsettled. We feel adrift. And in order for us to be able, and tefillah is crucial. It's not simply, it's not just an obligation or imperative or even a request, which is crucial. It's an anchor for our whole existence, but we are being forced to dig into our souls. Well, let me try to express this point through some parsha. Parshas Vayikra discusses 5 different kinds of korbanos: Ola, Mincha, Shlamim, Chatas, and Asha. Each of them has its own particular logic, own particular spiritual logic. The Ola is total sacrifice. Everything's consumed on the Mizbeach. I want to sacrifice everything. The Shlamim is this idea of a common feast, of being able to come together to a common meal, a common feast between me and God and the Kohanim. Chadas and Asham have the idea that I'm sacrificing my soul. Ki adam hu b'nefesh yichaper. A person offers the essence of his existence to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Mincha in the parsha is the odd man out. There are, out of the 5 korbanos, 4 of them are zvachim, animal sacrifices, and the 5th is a mincha, a vegetarian. Now Chazal don't talk about vegetarian or animal. Chazal talk about more dignified, more impressive, and less impressive. A mincha is a pizza dough. You boil some, you either boil or you bake some flour, not a great quantity. The mincha is seen as much less impressive in terms of the offering. And it's exactly this point that Chazal latched upon, noticing the following diuk. The pasuk talks about Adam ki akriv mikem korban, a person brings a korban. In Shlamim, that's Vayola. In Shlamim it says, no, it continues the same idea of the Ola. While by the Mincha it says, Nefesh kitakriv korban mincha. Parenthetically, I'll say it says by Chadas also, but let's leave the Chadas on. In the Korbanos Nedava, in the 3, which come to Chazal, see a contrast between the Ola and the Mincha. The Ola is Adam ki akriv mikem, and the Mincha is Nefesh ki takriv korban mincha. Gemara in Menachos is aware of this, and Rashi, if I remember, quotes this in Pashat Shavua. The Gemara says the following. Amar Yitzchak. Why is mincha different than, it says nefesh and not adam? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, mida kol lehavi mincha, who brings a mincha? Ani. Why? Because an ashir is supposed to bring something more impressive and more dignified, if you want. Ma'aleh adi alav ki'ilu hikriv nafsho. Dafka, because the mincha is brought, and the object, the physical object, is so much less impressive. What we see there is what's really impressive, the subjective element. To put it simply, the mincha places in the foreground the subjective gesture, the handing over the soul, nefesh kitakriv. And Ola is also an expression of a desire to come close to the Kodesh Baruch Hu, an attempt to be litkarev. Korban means to be proximate, to come close. So the korban, the Ola, of course, also is. But the Ola, it's like you buy your wife a fancy piece of jewelry, or you bring you're a guest and you bring a very fancy gift. So of course it's meant to express your love and your friendship. Nevertheless, the love is expressed through the object. The object glitters. It glitters as an expression of love. And nevertheless, the object is part of is what the object is, gives meaning to the whole gesture. By nefesh kita kriv, it's like you bring a lone flower. You bring you write a poem without the diamond. You simply give. It's a gesture which is wholly subjective. The personality is the entire gesture. It fills 100% of the whole element. In a sense, it means we cannot rely upon any but the object to be able to leverage our subjective feelings. We cannot rely upon externals to make our feelings more. We can't rely on an objective external to express our feelings. It has to come, has to be self-generated and self-manufactured from within. Has to be a pure expression of the soul. This is the idea of mincha. And I think the same is true about tefillah b'yachid. Tefillah b'tzibur is, before, we come here in the rhyme. We come fully engaged. We come to focus. We come with spiritual energy. Nevertheless, we also rely upon, as I said before, others to assist us and to carry us and to leverage the tefillah. Over here, it's you and you alone. I think to myself, about some of the most significant tefillah I've had in my life. Not necessarily b'tzibur. Often in the loneliness of a situation. Often a crisis, not only, but if I think back, it could be first tefillah in the army, where I was alone and basically had to seek the sense of kirat elokim, of sikat HaKadosh Baruch Hu within your soul alone. No one to talk to, no one to discuss the issue with, no one can understand you. Battling disease with various family members at different times. The tefillah b'yachid forces you to really dig into your soul and to manufacture your feelings. And this I think is a major benefit. I've been davening b'chilus the past week and a half, and I don't feel my tefillah suffered because of the circumstances. If I would do this for a whole year, I'm sure it would suffer. I would be distracted, and my mind would start wandering all over. But for given the current circumstances in which there's tension and fear and whatnot, I feel the tefillah has been just significant. Now, of course, the guarantee that the tzibur has, the individual doesn't have, but it's highly meaningful because you have to create it from yourself. Last night, I was able somewhat to find I found an outdoors minyan with like a right fielder, a left fielder, center fielder, and the same kind of distance between them. It's like davening the outfield, literally. I didn't feel the same. I didn't feel the same intensity in a sense because you had to pace yourself with the tzibur, because the chazan was leading. So I don't romanticize tefillah b'yachid the whole year round, and I don't want next year Shana Aleph to think they can get away with davening in their rooms all the time. But I do believe that in times such as this, the spiritual intensity, tefillah b'yachid is no less intense, and at times I think it has quite a few advantages over tefillah b'tzibur. I would certainly say, like everything in life, in a given situation, you have to maximize the advantages it presents you and minimize the disadvantages. And I think it's certainly a huge opportunity over here. Same is true of Shabbos. I wrote this in a brief WhatsApp message, which was sent last day of Shabbos, and I literally had that experience over Shabbos. Stayed home on Shabbos, and it was a wonderful and uplifting family Shabbos with a small, just a nuclear family. But it was a sense that Dafka, because of that, given the circumstances, you felt the Kedusha Shabbos. And at the end of the day, Shabbos means you feel Kosh Baruch Hu, you feel you're stepping outside time, you feel you're stepping outside the normal world of activity, outside the mundane world. You're entering into a special realm of time. And this is why I felt the past Shabbat. Normally, you need all the trappings, the halachic trappings, the trappings of minhag. I said before, are crucial in routine times. But in special times, I think having the ability to seek into basically to peer into your soul, to bond 4, 5, 6 family members, gives you the uniqueness of Shabbat, no less than having a big in Shabbat, or no less than Tzfat, or and there was a sense circumstances created a special unique Shabbat, which brings close to Kodesh Baruch Hu through different means and a different medium, and I think we should really utilize this time to recognize, our ability and our need to generate these experiences. And this is Sicha. I think it's now Tefillah is a Sicha. You're conversing with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You're talking to him, and conversations are often best done in private. The Yerushalmi Brachos touch the pasuk Tefillah Lani Kiyatov Lifnei Hashem Yishpoch Sicha. This is one of the psukim I mentioned before that views Tefillah as a Siach. And Yerushalmi Brachos, it talks about Adam Yichas Beit HaKnesset, but the picture it describes is not Tefillah Tzibur. It talks about Adam Yichas Beit HaKnesset V'omed Mechrei Ha'amud V'lochesh ושופך את תפילתו, whatever, כאדם הלוחש באוזן חברו. When you tefillah kiyato, לפני שמשפוך שיחו, like you're whispering in Kodesh Baruch Hu's ear. And because the siach of tefillah kiyato, when you're wrapped up in your circumstances, when you're wrapped up in your crisis, and atifah means to be wrapped up, actually atifah means to wrap up your face. And when you wrap up your personality within itself, because you look inwards and you are no longer facing outwards, this kind of conversation is best had in private. Like a parent-child private conversation in a time of crisis. And this is exactly Tefillah Kiyatov, which benefits often from being biyachidus. Now, I'll mention briefly the second point because, as I mentioned before, I wrote this up and hopefully we send out tomorrow morning. The whole posture of tefillah is also different in another regard. We all know that tefillah, the two classic modes of tefillah. There's tefillah beit tzara and there's tefillah in everyday routine life. The Ramban is the person who expressed this forcefully. The Rav made a big deal of this. The Rav tried to kidnap the Rambam into the Ramban's camp as well on this. It's certainly, and of course, before the Ramban and before the Rav, we had Shlomo HaMelech and Masechet Ta'anit, which is basically based upon Tfilat Shlomo. So we all know that Tefillah Beit Tzara is different. And there's no doubt, as many of you know, my wife works in Hadassah in research. Every so often, and I go to meet her, and I'm able to chapa mincha in the hospital shul. It's often uplifting. I don't mean the Shagal shul. I mean, if anybody's familiar, there's a small shul behind the elevators in the basement floor, and there's always a sense there of you're davening tefillah beit tzara, hashchina me'al rosho shel hacholeh, and davening beit tzara always has this intensity, and and directness, your mind doesn't wander, you're not distracted, because the tzara focuses you. So we are familiar with that. It seems to me, though, that there's an additional element over here, which is not just a question of tzara versus routine, how focused you are and how much you cry out because of your dependency. Something else. I think normally we approach Chodesh Baruch Hu to benefit us within nature. Chodesh Baruch Hu to let nature and normal life benefit us. And we talk about Baruch Aleinu or Shema Koleinu or Shiva Shofteinu, Rifa'enu. We're much more focused upon God working within the world, allowing nature to benefit us, allowing nature to be benevolent to us, because essentially we view nature as being benevolent. That's modern man's basic perspective on life. Because of that, our tefillah is that nature should be able to really smile upon us. The current crisis, nature has become an enemy. Nature basically has double-crossed us. Modern man has relied upon nature and therefore upon routine. We rely upon, we have economic stability. Baruch Hashem, society is large. Obviously, there are individuals who are better off and worse off, but we rely upon economic stability, and we view medicine as being able to harness all kinds of plants and herbs and whatnot to our benefit. And we view man as controlling nature. We view man as master of the universe, and therefore the universe obliges man. And on the whole, we recognize, of course, that there are exceptions. In Chas v'Shalom, there are diseases which we haven't conquered. However, we have a deep trust within nature and the natural world. When a person is ill, we encourage him to continue his routine, and so on and so forth. And now nature, in a sense, has become a traitor to us. The natural course of events is threatening. The natural course of events has basically means that if things go on normally and naturally, Chas v'Shalom, there'll be a pandemic, and there is a pandemic, and Chas v'Shalom, there'll be a huge disaster. We're saying what we need now is basically to overcome nature, to defeat nature, not to work within it, but to force nature to surrender to us. Otherwise, Chas v'Shalom will surrender to nature. We have to basically bring nature to its knees before it brings us to our knees. And it's a whole different posture. It's in a sense, or in essence, I should say, really, the carpet has been pulled from under our feet. And I don't mean our daily activity. Our daily activity, we were interested in politics, business, sports, and the like, because that's what we view as dynamic. We view the underlying infrastructure of life. In other words, essentially, the relationship between man and nature. We think basically, philosophers talk about it, poets talk about it. But all of us assume it as a given. The given of modern man, as I said before, the given is that the bedrock of our lives is an attitude towards nature, which views nature as beneficial and views nature as not being threatening, but being benign. And it's so basic, we never reflect upon it. And I think exactly this has been transformed and changed in the last month or so. And I think we find it very unsettling, though we can't always articulate this. And I think this is part of the problem. Our response, I think part of it is a response of fear. Part of it is a response of fear. Obviously, there's fear involved. Part of it, though, is we feel unsettled because deep down, we are now alienated from the world. Between man and nature no longer are going hand in hand. They're opponents. Nature now is the enemy, not the ally. And because of this, I think we feel deeply unsettled. So part of it is, of course, the threat and the fear and the anxiety. Part of it is the disruption. But part of it really is that the whole basic posture, which we've all been born into and lived and experienced, has been upended. Now, this I think is the root of our feelings. It also translates into tefillah, and I think I'll say like this: tefillah at times works. I said before, we ask God to work through nature. We know there are various options and opportunities in nature, and we ask Kodesh Baruch Hu, Baruch Aleinu Shana Tova. Should be economically a good year. The rain should be good. We say Refein Hashem v'nerefei. We hope for health and for healing and so on and so forth. Over here, we say God should work within nature to within history to do things naturally according to the historical process, etc., etc. And now we need to tell Masechet Ta'anit. Masechet Ta'anit basically assumes a threatening nature. It assumes nature is out to get you. It assumes if the natural course of events continues to be a calamity. And therefore, Masechet Ta'anit is you basically have, like you take out the Sefer Torah and you pray in the street. It's deeply symbolic. It's not like the street is a big plaza with room for more people. It's rather you have to leave your abode, leave your surroundings which are comfortable and familiar, and you become alienated and disconnected. You're out in the street. You're homeless in a sense. The whole point of Tefillah Ta'anit is to be homeless. And I think we have to basically internalize this and feel that yes, in this new nature at the moment, we're homeless. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll come back home. Things will be over and we'll come back home. But at the moment, we are in a sense homeless from our basic existence within nature. And the tefillah of a homeless person on the street is a different kind of tefillah. And this is tefillah b'chovah shel ir. And it's called like Dia Masechet Ta'anit. I'll add more to that. I think it's the idea of Tag Gibor. We say Kodesh Baruch Hu Hakel HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah. Hakel HaGadol means within nature. Kodesh Baruch Hu is Gomel Chasadim Tovim, He's Zocher Chasdei Avot. Gibor means he overcomes and overrides, and he conquers nature. Right? It begins with B'chei Metim. B'chei Metim means to go against nature. It means to violate the most basic principle of nature. And we emphasize B'chei Metim, and because the point of Tag Gibor is sometimes you have to pray to the Kodesh Baruch Hu that he abandoned the natural providence, or he abandoned Hashgacha through nature, and he basically intervenes. It's like when you ask your parent to intervene for you, or when you ask the ruler who's close to you, a benign ruler or a ruler who's close to you, right? Avinu Malkeinu, this is the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you're going to have to override your own rules in order to rescue us. And it's a whole different kind of tefillah. But I think it's important to recognize this. Now, I'll add an additional point about this, but I must preface it with an introductory remark. I'm in Almon Shvut, I'm in Eretz Yisrael, state of Israel. I know more or less what the feelings are over here. It's difficult, even going into online, even reading online journalism and online chat groups and this guy, and then being in touch with people all on my phone. It's difficult to feel the pulse of other places. What exactly are the feelings in Australia or in New York or in LA or in London? It's very difficult to gauge from far away. So I can say what the feelings are here. I can say I cannot say with anything about what's going on abroad. I can say over here is that Masechet Ta'anit assumes a dual assumption. One is that there's acute danger, that you feel threatened, your very existence is threatened. And the Gemara talks not only about going to the Chovah Shel Ir to pray, it talks about going to the cemetery, to Beit HaKvarot. So Masechet Ta'anit assumes acute danger. It also assumes, as I said before, it assumes a threatening nature. You cry out to the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and Masechet Ta'anit describes a tefillah which you cry out, you scream, and it's predicated upon this dual element. One is the sense of deep danger, and the other is the sense that nature is a threatening force. Over here in Israel, at least, I think people are unsettled. I said before, I think this unsettling feeling that nature is turned upon us, and though it's not readily understood, it's certainly there. I don't feel the acuteness. Obviously, some people feel more threatened. I think deep down, I do think that cumulatively, there's a sense of pressure and tension, which is because of danger, but it's more a mute, which I say background radiation kind of pressure. You don't feel you go shopping, you meet people, you don't feel a sense of I'm extremely threatened, like the sense you had during the Intifada, Chas v'Shalom, or during wars, which is a deep sense of personal threat. It was considered natural, and we coped and we used routine, but this deep personal threat, I feel it's less true now. I think it's the reverse is true, that we view this very not so before nature is basically betraying us, but it's not an acute sense of danger as it was, for instance, a time of war or terror. And this causes a difficulty in being able to achieve the tefillot and Masechet Ta'anit, because they are predicated also upon this distress. And whether that's the case in Chutz La'aretz, I assume it depends where. I assume in some places, indeed, the distress is acute, and Masechet Ta'anit is expressed in full force. In other places, maybe not. But it's like this. I think the solution and the approach should not be, therefore, not to apply such tefillot. Rather, I think it should be, if you don't already recognize that there's a cumulative danger which becomes dangerous more and more acute by the day, to begin to recognize that. And if I think, and what Yeshiva has recommended, is that to really use the tefillah Masechet Ta'anit, first and foremost, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu is a direct verbatim tefillah. It's a tefillah lifted verbatim out of Masechet Ta'anit. Chavdalad would be, if I remember, if not Chafem would be. And it certainly is the tefillah Masechet Ta'anit, which is most integrated into our normal tefillot, and a few other elements which appear in Masechet Ta'anit as well. Mishana is also directly taken Masechet Ta'anit, and to use them. Okay, now having spoken about tefillah, I'd like to move on to Torah. I said I've discussed what is a Sicha. So Sicha is conversation, dialogue between human beings. Sicha is conversation, dialogue, man, God. And the third element in Tanakh of Sicha is Torah. Mavti Toratecha, Kolayomi Sichati. Or another pasuk from that same chapter in Tehillim, Edvotecha Sichali. Your edut, your Torah, is my conversation. Meaning, Torah itself is defined as Sicha. Excuse me. What does that mean? I think it means the following. Torah is not only trying to understand divine ideas. It's not only trying to figure out what Kadosh Baruch Hu demands of us. Of course, it's also that Torah is trying to listen, understand, and comprehend God's will. Torah is reading the list of directives and imperatives that is issued to us. But beyond that, Talmud Torah, less halacha l'maaseh, Talmud Torah, the kind you engage in the yeshiva during the past year, is a conversation. You sit around the table with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and you converse. You talk with him. You have a discussion. You sit around this table, and a certain concept is brought for discussion, and there's a debate. Like the topic of today is called Alim Gavar or Migo or Lishman Matzah or whatever, and you engage in a conversation. This idea is developed in great length in the whole Lithuanian thought. I won't give a lecture now upon Lithuanian machshava, but the whole idea is that man and God converse. Chazal talk about lomdim shchina beinehem. You basically you have a discussion group with Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is a member of the discussion group, and of course the Lithuanian Ashkafa constantly emphasizes how man can debate and at times override the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Lo b'shamayim man's autonomy in Torah, because he's part of the discussion group. He's a full-fledged member of the discussion group. But beyond that, the discussion itself is what's so crucial. The sense of I'm able to engage with the Sicha. Same way tefillah is I can talk to him, so too in Torah we have a common conversation, a common discussion. And this is what's really dveikut in a sense, meaning you're able to approach him. Dveik means to approach. You approach Kadosh Baruch Hu through this round table of learning Torah together. Now, when we're in yeshiva, is that what we do? We have a round table, we give a shir, you can argue, debate, listen, have a chavrusa, and remember, the Rav has a famous passage at the end of Mikashta Misham, which describes how he's joined by all the generations. He's linked to the Rambam, the Ramban. It's a very, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful piece and very famous as well. But if I remember him, I'm not sure he mentions of it. It's clear that his intention. At the end of the day, the person who pulls up a chair, it's like this. Not only does Rabbeinu Tam pull up a chair and join the Rav's and sit at the Rav's desk, and not only does the Rambam peek over the Rav's shoulder. At the end of the day, who really joins the conversation is he with a capital H. At the end of the day, it's Kadosh Baruch Hu who joins the Rav's discussion group with Rabbeinu Tam and the Rambam and Ricky Vegan and Shagasarye. The real master, or the real head of the discussion is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Chazal talk about. Now Chazal continue the mission of us. Afilu shnayim sheyoshivim shchina imahem, afilu echad sheyoshev shchina imahem, shema yoshev b'dad v'yidom ki atal alav. And this is the kind of sicha which I think we should be having now. On one level, we are trying to create a community of learning, and I'll discuss that in a moment. But before I get to that, on one level, afilu yachid shchina imo. The same way it's true of tefillah, it's true of Talmud Torah as well. Sometimes learning alone, when you're in a group, it's much better, it's much easier. You reach higher levels of analysis, of discussion, the motivation, and the group dynamic is often very positive, etc. It's learning alone can be very lonely sometimes. And once more, I say this. Someone spent many hours in Miluim learning alone in many different, many strange places. And lahavdil, sitting by hospital beds and spending a night with a chola and learning. But I think that loneliness, which is indeed learning alone, can be very lonely. That loneliness, though, to make you feel it's not only me and Rabbi Kiva, it's me and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's the only person aware of my learning at the moment, the only person who can engage me on this, the only person who even knows that I'm learning and who's present here to not to appreciate, but to listen to my learning is the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Echad Yoshev Vilomeid Shchina Imo Yeshev Badad Vidom Ki Natal Alav. And this loneliness of learning, and this is what the Rav describes as the lonely man of faith. that his learning, he discusses learning there very little, and Bikashta Misham much more, but the learning is even b'chidut, it enhances sometimes this quality of Shechina. When you have your friends, your chaverim, your abayim in the room, so you notice their presence much more. When you have the Rambam Rabbeinu Tam, if you're the Rav and his Madrega, you notice their presence. When you're all alone, you notice the Chodesh Baruch Hu most. He's the only one there besides for you. And when you pick up your head, you feel, try to imagine at least that Shechina imo. That's I think one level was very important to emphasize. Another level, Baruch Hashem, we have these electronic mediums. Are they perfect? No. Do I believe they help us with tefillah? No. I think electronic contact is not personal contact. I think at the end of the day, any attempt to analyze halachically electronic contact is a function of how much you view, how you appreciate personal contact. Is personal contact simply conveying information and the like, or is personal contact something which can be expressed, but the feeling that someone's in the room with you and his soul is there cannot always be captured electronically. I felt this for years. I've said this in many shurim regarding edus and other such halachic topics. I can say from experience. I went, quote unquote, or unquote unquote. I went to a virtual funeral for last Friday, a week ago. Put it differently, I saw the funeral online. I couldn't go because of various restrictions. A person who had any other circumstance, I would have been there. At 4 a.m. in pouring rain, under any circumstance in the world, I would have canceled the shir. I would have canceled the shir closely. First, I had to be there for a funeral, and I didn't go. Did observing it on online, was it helpful? Yes. But I can say that day I saw the funeral. I didn't participate. I really feel I'm missing something. There was a person who I was close to, and was meaningful in my life. I was not zoche to be in the funeral. I was zoche to be able to see what happened and to get a first-hand account. But not more than that. At least I'm speaking from my personal experience. And if that was Friday morning, Sunday afternoon, I went to a virtual wedding. Was happier. It was much more lively. But even with all the live chat and etc., there was a distance and a qualitative difference which really can't be bridged. And I think we should recognize that when we talk about virtual minyanim and the like. And let's not confuse the original and the real thing for a bavua de bavua, in terms of in Plato's language, it's simply a mirror or a reflection. Reflection is something, mirrors and a mirror reflection is better than nothing. And it's certainly better to see someone in the mirror than not to see them at all. But we should be very careful not to confuse a mirror with a reflection with the real thing. And I think it's to a tefillah. 10 souls come together. They have to come together in person. And therefore, if to conclude this parenthetical remark, I think it's not replacement, and therefore it's wrong to try to use as replacement because you dilute the product. And B'ezras Hashem, when times return to normal, go back to minyanim, we don't have the illusion that a virtual minyan is worth anything, because then people use it even in times to come. And we should not dilute the product. And if you can't get the real thing, so you don't get the real thing. If you can't, if you can't drink Coke, don't fool yourself to think that water is Coke. Now, but to get back to Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah, the virtual medium is better. Talmud Torah is based partially on knowledge, partially upon human contact. And knowledge, of course, we keep being transmitted, nevertheless, I do believe that I think Talmud Torah, because we converse through intellectual medium, so I think tefillah we converse through emotions, and I find it very difficult to see virtual reality as being able to properly replace the emotional medium. But in tefillah, in Talmud Torah, we use the intellectual medium. And that's easier to use virtual reality for. But let me emphasize, we use the intellectual medium is to create an existential kesher, to create a connection of souls. This connection of souls begins intellectually. It's a well-known phenomenon. Sometimes people become fans and chassidim of all kinds of thinkers who they never met, and but they read their works, they've read their books, that they feel a deep connection. I can say about many people whose books I've read, I feel a deep connection to them, even though I've never met them, because I think we talk intellectually, we're able to make a meaning of minds which encompasses the soul, even though it's through the meaning of the intellect and not direct human contact. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve this week. And Baruch Hashem, I feel it's been wonderful. When I first, when I said goodbye to my shir, I thought to myself to stay in touch every day with people, to somehow, to continue the kesher and the like. I've been giving shir last week. I gave normally shir once every other day. This week, even more, we are doing chazara, so shir has been more frequent. And I feel less of an emotional need to say hello and to make small talk with them, because our souls have been meeting daily through the meaning of our minds, by discussing Mechila Betos, or by discussing the second Dafim Aleph of Kina Shel Bechavana, and all these things, been able to stay in touch emotionally. And I think the wonderful thing is, even though you've gone back to the United States now and you're far away, this virtual medium allows our minds to connect, and therefore our souls. And that's why it seems to be crucial that the virtual medium also be live. What I mean by that, why should you listen to my shir or my Sicha, or for that matter, to anybody else on our staff? You can listen to the Rav. There are thousands of recordings of the Rav. There are a few videos of the Rav circulating. You can listen to many of the Gedolim. You can listen to Ravad Yosef. Why? There are hundreds of recordings of my father which are available. Why follow? Why you come to Yeshiva to learn from us? I understand, because we are alive and we stay in the classroom, and they're not. But if you're going to be ready online, why not get the Rav online? I think the answer, of course, is that what we seek in Talmud Torah is Sicha. Kol hayom is Sichati. And Kol hayom is Sichati means not only the knowledge. If you hear the Rav, or my father, Rav Mital, you gain the knowledge, you gain the intensity, the scope, the breadth of vision, but it's a whole different story in terms of personality. You have to discuss tzaddikim at the Tam Kurim Chayim. I don't have time to do that now, but I think when you hear myself or other rabbeim in the yeshiva, we have a conversation, and because Baruch Hu basically entrusted to some of the Kohanim, he entrusted the role of representing him. In a sense, he entrusted to Rabbanim the role to represent him vis-a-vis Talmidim, to parents vis-a-vis children, right? And the Rav is Malach Hashem Tzvakot. It doesn't mean the Rav is an angel, or he should be, of course, but more often than not, he isn't. Rather, it means that he represents the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Malach Hashem Tzvakot, meaning he's God's messenger. And we try humbly to present, to teach, because and I think it's important because Baruch Hu should be a live person who's able to give the conversation Kodesh Baruch Hu to be real and to be felt. He wants a live. Tell me, you need a Kohen. He also wants a live person to be part of the conversation, to do the teaching. At the end of the day, the teaching, the role of the teacher is there. Basically, he's the teacher. Only he needs a representative. And to the best of our meek ability, we try to represent. And it's crucial because Baruch Hu wants his presence to be felt. And for that, he wants a conversation with us and a discussion with us. And for that, he needs a basar v'dam. And I think this basar v'dam, said before, I think in tefillah it's very difficult to replicate this online. I think in Talmud Torah it's much easier. And therefore the importance of these live shiurim and shiurim from your current rabbeim and shiurim from people you know is exactly this point. It's not the information, the knowledge. You can read the Minchas Chinuch all day long. He gives a better shit than I do. You can read the Rambam. But the real point is to feel this conversation. But the brabe edotecha and this dibur and the siach has to be with a real person. So I said before, if you can only learn alone, I feel chad yoshev shchina imo. But online reality, I think, in learning allows us and enables us to nevertheless be together, be part of the same group, community, what the Rav would call the learning community, the covenantal community. And the Rav spoke about prayer, redemption, Talmud Torah. The redemption of prayer is very individual and cannot be achieved online. The redemption of Torah is because it's intellectual quality and the element of discussion embedded within it can be achieved. And that's, I think, part of the focus and the importance of what we're doing that last week and next week and the weeks to come. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should remain a community. So let me just conclude. I begin with a conversation, a personal conversation. I'll conclude the personal conversation. First of all, I hope and pray each and every one of you is healthy and is taking all necessary precautions, and that B'ezrat Hashem, the Kodesh Baruch Hu should continue to give him health. Chas v'shalom, if someone is ill, Kodesh Baruch Hu should be rofei cholim and should Misha Chizkiah Melech Yehuda b'chol yo hu ya'aneinu b'yishma tza'akateinu hayom hazeh. Kodesh Baruch Hu should give us the spiritual fortitude and the emotional fortitude to be able to navigate uncharted waters. He should give us the resilience to recognize a crisis, not to fool ourselves, and to recognize in times of crisis, you have to respond appropriately. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to sound like they did on Lunch Food the other day. Don't try to send a truck with blaring loudspeakers and Hasidic music to try to banish the tzara. It's not going to work like that. Recognize and have the resilience and to face reality as it is. And Baruch Hu give us the wisdom and the emotional, the spiritual wisdom to be able to navigate these waters religiously and spiritually, and as well as emotionally, and be able to really feel that Yeshev Adad Vidom Kinatal Alav on one level, another level to be part of a community which remains together, even though each person is a different point. You all studied the Gemara in Eov, the Gemara Babasa, which describes Eov, Daf Tetzayin, where it talks about these three companions, hundreds of miles between each of them. Nevertheless, they're Kishachad B'Lev Echad. The same way his companions are hundreds of miles apart, and Kishachad B'Lev Echad, so too are we. And if you remember the Agatim Batra, the Gemara talks there about Af Chochmati Amdali, Torah Shamadati Bi'af. Torah that I learned in times of distress is the Torah that for the rest of my life I cherish the most. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. I think that's what we all know from experience, that the Torah you study in difficult and challenging times is the Torah you remember best. I still remember, like yesterday, all of the Torah that I studied in Lebanon, and for good reason. It was an intense time, and the Torah and what you do in intense times sticks with you. And I think the Torah we're studying these times, we will cherish and we remember very well as being part of a spiritual fortitude. B'ezrat Hashem, when better times will come,